With other organizations such as MFF, Anime Twin Cities, MarsCon, VGMCon, and more, how should MNFurs achieve our mission statement and still collaborate with our partners?
Go. The key thing with working with other organizations is, first of all, working with other nonprofits, 501c3, means that we can share resources, including equipment and volunteers. It's important to help out and grow other organizations, other groups, and use resources and share them. We can also use these other groups to advertise Minnesota Furs. We can also have like room parties where we can celebrate MNFurs, and at the same time provide them with the ability to have room parties at Furry Migration and other events we have, so they can have the cross-pollination. The more people we get to work with these organizations, not only can we share resources, we can have events shared between each other, and that requires less work on us if we're sharing, because sharing is also caring. Good enough. Yeah. This one's like I'm sitting there going, don't screw them over.
Working on the board sometimes means working with individuals that you may not personally get along with. What are some ways you would handle this?
I feel like I just had this question asked me at work. We had in training about this, but for Minnesota Furs to work, we need to work with everybody. And everybody's going to have different opinions. They're going to have things based around their background, things about their gender orientation, maybe different, their race, political leaning, and everything else, and that help, and just their general background. They're going to be all different people. So you have to understand that people don't think the same way as you do, and you may not agree with them, but you can work with them. And one of the things I do in situations I find a common ground. For example, I'm a big gamer, so I will start talking about gaming and gaming in general. Other thing is, I like watching movies, so you can collaborate on there. Once you find that part of a thing to build a working togetherness, you'll have something to work together with. It makes it easier to work together. So, I mean, if you somebody's working as an anime fan, you find that. Even if you don't have enough time there's always something you can relate to, figure out something. And once you have that, and once you can feel that connection and everything else, it just makes it easier to work with. But it's important to work with other individuals, even if you don't care about them or don't want to normally sit there with a beer and talk with them, because we're a volunteer organization. We need every hand and every opinion. And it's not just your organization, it's everybody's organization. So it's important to get everybody on board. So you just have to figure out ways of working with them and understanding that their view may not match your view, but at the same time, their view can be valid. It's also going to be completely different because of the situation now.
Yeah. What is your understanding of your fiduciary responsibilities if elected to the board?
Fiduciary responsibility is the financial responsibilities. It doesn't usually cover the legal responsibilities, but I will put those as both important. It is important for Minnesota Furs to follow the rules of the IRS, which does include how you're spending the money and how you're gathering the money. As a nonprofit, you're empowered to take money from other organizations and individuals and bring it into your organization tax-free. So you can only spend money in certain ways. Because of that, you can't just like give it to Bob, your friend. You can't just create a fursuit. You can't do this. You have to be fair and balanced on how you're using things. So if we are doing, it would be completely illegal for me to go, hey, we're doing a badge and I'm giving it to this person because they're my friend. But if you are going to do something like, oh, we're doing a badge for a spring picnic, we're opening up to the community to do a badge, and everything else. And whoever does, a badge that meets these criterias can get financial. That's great. But part of your fiduciary duties as an organization is making sure that you're fair. You don't do things based around that you're part of that business or a friend. And also not spend money wildly. If you decide that the only way your con survive is to have a ball pit, that is probably a bad use of the money from a nonprofit point of view. But to provide an event for your volunteers to celebrate their use for it, that's a great use of the money that you're doing, because you need to make sure your organization continues going. So fiduciary is responsible spending of money. Doesn't mean just hoarding money, but it's responsible.
What strategies would you use to ensure MNFurs remains a welcoming and inclusive space, not just for its members, but also for members of the general public who interact with the organization?
This is a good question. It's a hard question too, because we're talking about everyone. As a 501c3 nonprofit, we are supposed to help out the general public. We're supposed to be a general public organization. So this becomes important. We need to provide multiple avenues for people to feel friendly there. We need the physical presence, and because we are a Minnesota community organization, so we'll have things like the Oval Meet and stuff like that, have greeters at these meets and stuff like that. But would be for another way to welcome public is doing like we used to do fursuiting events at help fundraise, like at Petco with their nonprofit wing, that we have fursuiters sitting outside a store helping out, trying to build fundraising, but at the same time we're showing to the general community we're there and we're organizing and we're not threatening and everything else. And so a lot of people go over there, they think they're part of the normal group, but other people go, hey, who are you and what you're doing? Then that's a gateway to teach the general public about MNFurs. They take pictures, then they show them on the Instagram, and everybody then comments, and you're going, oh, these are nice fur people and everything else. And it gives a general, make people feel friendly. But it's also important that we have an online presence, have a website that shows all the information and what MNFurs is. Also, other ways for avenues for the community to continue and thrive online, to talk to each other, provide those things. But if you have those, we need to provide creators and community people and moderators just to make sure that we are friendly and keep going and not try to keep people in bubbles. And it's one of those things is we have to keep being good to the best way to help out, to make it look good for members of the general public about our organization, is treating our other members as good. Because once they go into a room and they see us and they see us interacting in a fun, happy, friendly way, they're going to go, I want to be part of that. Or, those guys are cool. They can do whatever they want. They're cool, though. Oh, these are going to just ramble much more than normal. Because I don't see anybody else, so I'm going to just go off and ramble. I'll start talking about theme parks eventually and talk about how this decrepit theme park could be really good if you just come there and open up the unlock. Just find the 5 keys in the room.
How would you ensure transparency and accountability to the members of MNFurs?
One of the things that we can do for that is make sure we're following the Minnesota and IRS rules. For example, we are required to have a physical public meeting every year in Minnesota. And that should include our voting days and everything else. That's one thing. But it's publishing our notes and publishing our meeting notes. Making sure it's easy to access our IRS filings. Making sure that we are public for our board meetings. So we don't put board meetings under, some lock key and everything else, that anybody can come to these. Also, trying to be board members, trying to get them to make sure that they're at events, no matter what the event is. Make sure there is 1 or 2 board members at an event. If it's a MNFurs event, make sure a board member's there, or at least a high-level staff, but always make sure there's there. So a part of this accountability is approachability, approaching the board, being able to ask, so it doesn't feel like that the board is in this secret room and everything else, and that the members can easily go out and ask them. Because to be brutally honest, transparency is just talking about what we do. It's not about trying to, it's as important to do things in the background, like doing your insurance, doing this stuff, but tell people, hey, look, we're filing insurance today. Why we're doing that? Because we don't want your organization to get in a lawsuit and disappear. And we need to just talk about it. It's just talking. That includes being on Discord. That includes being on the website. That includes on there just telling people what you do and having it written out and being out there and being public and something that somebody could search on the web and find, hey, that this is what they do. Oh, yeah, last year they got X amount of money from the con and they spent Y on these community events and community organizations and did these things and did these scholarships and stuff. The more you publish, the more you talk about, the more you say invite people to come there, and the more you follow the IRS and Minnesota's nonprofit rules, more transparent you're going to be and more accountable. See, we're going to get through this. We're going to power through this.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I'm probably not even close to using my 3-minute time.
You're getting close.
Oh, damn it.
Nonprofits require funds to remain operational. What is your proposal on ways to provide more revenue streams for MNFurs?
I think we have a lot of streams. I mean, we can improve some of those streams, like merchandise. People love to get furry merchandise. I don't think we need to have some special character or anything else to do this. I think we can do a character of the year to specialize, because Minnesota has so many characters, so many people. We are ourselves character. We don't want to associate our business with just one character. We want to associate with the community. So having a variety, like this year, we might have a loon for a representation. We have loon merchandise. Next year, we'll pick something else from like the Minnesota Zoo, just random creature like a coyote. We'll just do all of this coyote merchandise, everything from shirts, plushies, and everything else. And that will, sell like millions of dollars. And people will get excited, and there'll be limited edition items and everything else like that, and keep it going. And then they'll have, next year will be a tiger for just Snap, because he would be upset if we didn't have a cat or something for 1 year and stuff like that. And we go through this cycle. The other thing is we've got the con. The con itself has a lot of ways to making additional funds, but really we just need to make sure, and we could do events that are paid events. We need to still keep free options, both online and offline, to do that. People who can not, because not everybody can spend $100 per month on furry. Some people need to have free events, and we need to do that to help our community. And it shows, that's part of our purpose, is there to show and celebrate furries as MNFurs. So we can't just always say focus on everything has to make money. We do have a lot of ways of having money right now. And just saying we're so focused on it, we lose our vision. We lose the most important thing. The most important thing is community and friends. Which is true. We keep on obsessing on the money part.
Yeah.
We're at the point where money is not that important. We kind of just are, the con will just continuously make money.
Which is a good problem to have.
It is a good problem. But the thing is, we have to then work ourselves to that. A, we can use some of the money from the con as part of supporting our group. Mm-hmm. But B, at the same time, we get to break out of that cycle.
If elected to the board, how will you handle yourself publicly when and if approached by the general public wanting to know more about us?
I'm pretty familiar with this. As you get older in the furry fandom, they're the one that in the elevator you get asked, because you'll have all these people 20 to 30, and then you have the older person, the adults that with their kids, or adults just in general, they'll just look at whoever's the oldest person on the elevator or and walking around, they'll ask you about the organization. So the key thing is, when I get approached, A, try to talk in their language. Try to make it so that, I'm their friend, I'm something they can relate to. Then the second thing is talk about MNFurs as a normal organization, as a normal thing. We are not want to be, there are those special people. We want to be the people of the community. We want to be normal people and just say, hey, this is something we do in our time. We enjoy this. Just like people play games, people go to anime conventions, people like cosplaying. We are cosplaying our own characters. We are playing at who we are. So the key thing when we talk to the general public is not to make this some unique, special thing, but talk about, hey, this is normal. And that's the most important thing to people as furries and everything else. What we do 99% of the time, there's that 1%, is normal. It is very normal for people and everything else. The difference between us, instead of fishing, we're going out and celebrating ourselves and celebrating being who we are.
Do you want a break?
I'm taking a drink. I should have went to the bar and got like a $20 drink. That would have been better.
Ready?
Yep, go. We're going to get this done.
As a volunteer organization, all of our staff are volunteers. What ideas do you have to prevent burnout both in others and yourself?
Everybody's level to hit burnout is going to be different. Some people need to work and have something to work on. Otherwise, they will go insane. I personally need to have at least one or two things going on at one time in my life outside of work. Otherwise, I'm going to go obsess on work, and that's just not healthy either. So some people's levels are they're going to need to do more activities. Some people are going to be doing less. So identifying burnout is just finding when people are not doing their best. And when they're starting to not do their best, make sure that they know that they don't have to work on something they don't enjoy. That when you start working on something you don't enjoy, that will lead to your burnout. Or if you start feeling like, oh my God, I'm doing this again. Or you're seeing the repeat, you're doing this. When it's something fun, it's something new, something different, burnout's harder to do. And that's sometimes the best way to prevent burnout is having people switch to something else. Once they learn something, go to something else. Learn new ideas, new things. But it's just watching how much time people are putting in there, talking to people, seeing if they're feeling appreciated, feeling what they're doing matters. Make sure that they understand what they're doing matters. And also, people are going to have different levels of commitment. And if some people's version of burnout is working on something five hours a week, some people are going to won't hit burnout until they're like doing it 40 hours a week, for 5 weeks. So it's really it's going to be base by base. But for me personally, it's going to be not allowing myself to do other things and being OCD to the point where it becomes the only thing I'm doing in my life. And once that happens, I have to break. I have to do something. Otherwise, I'm just going to lose interest, and then I don't want to do it ever again. So for me, it's like going on trips, planning Disney, planning Universal, going on coasters, doing experiences, doing thrills and stuff like that, seeing shows, just experiencing new things or experiencing old familiar things in different ways.
Like E.T. If elected, what are some of your goals that you want to accomplish with the organization over the next 2 years, and why?
Personally, I want to shore up the nonprofit status of this organization, making sure we're following the 501c3 rules as much as possible and having other avenues of what we're using our 501c3 out there. The reason why is I believe that there is a possibility in the future people may look into our organization. And if they decide that we're not using the organization's nonprofit status appropriately, and we're not doing our nonprofit mission of being an educational 501c3 that's helping the community of understanding and being part of the furry fandom, we could lose our 501c3. At that point, we lose the con. This is a problem that could happen to any other organization and stuff like that. And remember, we're an educational thing. We're not supposed to be one that's distributing money to other communities. So giving money to another charity does not count as probably our nonprofit statement. We are supposed to be the ones doing the programs. So part of this is I want to shore up our things. One of the ideas that I really want to do is we have a lot of software we're doing. RICO, for example, is doing a volunteer tracking system. There is no equivalent tracking system out there that we found previously. So open source it out as something part of this there and uses MNFurs resources to advertise it, but also improve on it. So using their volunteers and stuff like that. And by doing this, we are actually fulfilling part of our 501c3 educational because we're providing services to there. We're providing to help other people use it for fundraising and other events that could do it. But also at the same time, we're providing our own resources to beginning, intro, or even intermediate developers to be able to build new software sites and stuff like that and update this and provide that. So by using our 501c3, by having that, we now have something else out there. I also would like to get, because I was one of the people that helped write it, to get scholarships programs and get a real scholarship program out there. We have the documentation, we have the things out there. A lot of it was not, we don't have an account out there in the banks that holds the money for a scholarship. We need to set that up, but we also need to start the program. What is our scholarship program? Is it for artists, if it's for writers, or for both? But those are the things I would like to do. I knew I was getting close.
Yeah.
I could talk more, but I wanted to cover at least the software side.
What are your ideas for engaging with underrepresented groups within the Minnesota Furs community?
Yeah. That's a good question, because everybody's view of what underrepresented groups is going to be different from their group. Because some people are going to look at their own group and say, hey, that's underrepresentative. We'll get that with, I know a couple gaming type community groups and everything else. But I'm going to talk, and it's going to be hard. I think the best way to do it is there's two approaches that you need to look, and both of those need to be done. The first approach is your physical medias, going to your meets and everything else. I think it's great to have an oval meet, but we also need to have other meetups and everything else, like the 21 up ones, the up bar ones and stuff like that. Getting people to do, hey, these are furries, but here's something else, because older furries are going to say, I don't want to be around the kids. The kids are going to be like, I don't want to be these old smelly people and things like that. And there's a skunk there, and I don't want to deal with the skunks, and they're, awful and asking things. And I just saw this one raccoon just going in the garbage and everything else. I just, I can't handle this being a cat. So you need to do more different groups, but you need to have those groups like the Oval Meet, the picnics and everything to bring. So the idea is to have these splinter groups to do things, and then use a main group like an Oval Meet / picnic and pull people to there. And at the Oval Meets and the picnic, start doing things that are some of these things that some of these groups will do, like the gaming stuff, board gaming, card gaming, doing stuff. But, have something or after the Oval Meet, we're going to do a bar run and things like that. So we have that. So we pull in different groups and stuff like that, different age groups, different variety. Online, it's a harder thing because people will start building niches and groups in there. It's hard to break that in there. So the idea of doing an online fur event, like a Minnesota Fur get together for a day online and have streaming all day and everything else with different organizations, artist groups, writers and stuff like that, would really help on this, instead of just saying we're just a Discord thing, because we are not just a Discord group. We are a lot of other groups, and people will, by nature of it, I'll be honest about this, I have so many groups out there, it doesn't really interest me, the Discord out there, because all my other groups would already take up the time. Why do I need to do this? And these are the people I'm more familiar with. So being able to do a mega group that you only need to do once every couple of months, I think would be a great idea, and try to do it as a mini con for Minnesota Furs.
Don't get me started. I really want to do a for immigration online thing. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that was a great idea. I think we can do it. Mm-hmm. I think we can make it. You can still get. We have to decide if it's a furry migration online, because we want to use the name recognition of furry migration, or we want to make it Minnesota Furs, or even make a new name for it. Mm-hmm. Minnesota Online.
Yeah, we should talk about this at the park.
Well, yeah, we got more talk. That's a drink talk, actually.
What fell? Was it something important? Oh, is this your phone? Okay.
Yeah, that was phone. We have to drop at least one electronics during this whole thing. At least you're making sure. I'm assuming my hands are flying around or something.
Yeah, it's all in frame.
Oh, good.
How do you define success for Minnesota Furs, and what metrics would you use to measure that success?
There's two levels of success. One is, I'm going to say, organization's still there and it's solvent. Those are levels of success. Those are important success levels. A lot of fur organizations cannot do that. Being solvent, being fiscally responsible, and not having anybody in their board in jail is a level of success that I'm very proud of, that Minnesota Furs hasn't done any of those things. But for me, it's most important success is when I meet somebody that they're 16 or 17, talked with them and stuff like that, and they were scared. They didn't know what furry is. They thought furry was maybe something they were like, but they're afraid of it. They're afraid of what people are going to say about them. They're afraid of who they are, and being able to talk with them, and then something click with them. And they realize that they are furry and there are other people like them out there. And a couple years later, coming out to them, walking at a con, all of a sudden seeing this person you saw when you were 15 and 16 now, and they're 22, coming out of a room party in a fursuit with alcohol in hand, having a blast, and then they go to you and say, hey, thanks. You helped me find who I was. This is not a made-up story. That is something that happened in my life. That is why I like working with MNFurs, and that's when they're a success. Also, they were half naked, but hey, they're with their suit head on, and I'm like, you need to really probably do something about that. Different con, though. But it was a Minnesota fur at the LFC.
Yeah, I believe you. What inspired you to run for a position on the MNFurs board of directors?
Oh, this is a good one. I was one of the founders of MNFurs with Kellick and a couple other people, Lego and other members. We founded the organization because of this. The reason why I want to be on the board is for two things. One, I want to help continue what we did as a vision for MNFurs, make it more open, more doing things for the public, and just helping out and doing things. Second, I want to provide my resources and abilities so other people can do their magical things at different levels, because you don't have to be on the board to affect it, but a board does take a lot of your time. And third, because I said there was two, there's always off by one with developers, is that I like helping people myself, and I really do think I would help out on the board, and I think that I enjoy it. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy being on the board because it is one of the things I can do, and I think I'm actually enjoy being on the board to help out, and that's very serious about that. So enjoy it.
What scares you the most about being on the board?
Two things. One, what scares you the most? What scares me the most is something coming on the board that if I was on the board and there's somebody through legal maneuvers is trying to destroy the board. I don't want this. I want this to be a community organization. I want this organization to be around as long as we can have it. And I'm afraid that using tricks from the IRS, tricks on laws for both Minnesota and federal, that they're going to try to pull away the 501c3 nonprofit status from the organization. That really scares me. I don't think our community is going to blow up or anything else in other ways, but I think just one bad actor is going to go after the board. And I'm hoping that there'll be a board there that's strong enough to fight it. That's what scares me now. If you asked me this question 5 years ago, it would have been something else. That's what scares me now. Oh, community questions.
That's something we don't have now, and we won't have until tomorrow, so we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we can do that later if you want
We can
to.
do like an addendum or something.
Yeah.
If MNFurs was to create its own mascot to represent the organization to the general public, what kind of animal would it be, and what would its superpower be?
My personal thing, based on talking with other people in the cons and other organizations, is I prefer not to have a mascot. And the reason why is because this is an organization of the community and the group. I don't want it to be about one thing. And when you do that, you make it a commercial opportunity, and you make it the organization becomes representative of that mascot. And a lot of people, you can argue both ways, but this is I've seen organizations with mascots and seen what happened to mascots and what people can do with them. It's not a. I mean, this is why a lot of corporations are now dropping mascots, because you have to publicly defend them, and that could cause drama. But now the question, personally, for an animal, I would have to pick something from Minnesota. I would pick more of the standard mammals. I would pick something from the Minnesota Trail. I would pick a coyote or a wolf is a fine one, but other things like that. I would do a canine to represent friendliness. So any type of, I mean, we can do a wolf because it's wild, but even a domestic dog and everything else. Huskies are usually a very stereotypical furry one. They're slightly crazy, just by the nature. They're very vocal, and they're just very, social animals. Something represents social and things like that. And what superpower would be? Just not sucking. That would be a good superpower. But the whole thing of just something that is that represents the friendliness and everything else and stuff like that. It just be, it's just. It would be a strong, you super strength, the Superman type one. I want the hero. I want the person that represents the best in the community, the Boy Scout one, which is take all the Superman powers, put them onto a character. We'll just have it there. But the thing is, you would want to represent with a Boy Scout. There's something that would represent I'm strong, I'm helpful, I'm American, I'm the family way, I'm all that stuff. So, in a good light.